All right, so I figured this is probably a good time to introduce the channel what I'm calling the twins. These cars are obviously not twins, but the more you look at the specs and what they can do, they're incredibly close. And what I'm talking about is my 2017 Camaro and my 2019 Corvette. So, two of my favorite colors, red and black. The other one probably like a silver gray. Those are by far my favorite color combo. Shout out to Dale Earnhardt back in the day. But this specifically is a 2017 Camaro SS 1LE, and this is a 2019 Corvette Grand Sport. So, if you look at what both these cars come with and what they can do on the street, and more in particular on the track, it's shockingly how close they are. There's probably $20,000-ish difference in price, which makes the Camaro that much more of a bargain. Although I will say, in general, everything the Camaro does, the Vette does just that much more, that much better, that much more. And it's close. On the street, it is surprising though. On the street, I probably get 10 times the comments, looks, attention in the Vette, 100 times the comments, looks, attention in the Vette than I do the Camaro. I think most people just see the Camaro and think, oh, it's a new Camaro. And it's got a weird black hood on it for some reason. Whereas the Grand Sport, the C7, specifically, I wanted this one because it's the wide body. It's more aggressive and it definitely draws attention. But let's give a once over what these cars look like. So this time of year in Colorado, I was going to shoot this outside. It was starting to get cold and starting to get dark, so I figured did a little bit outside and brought them inside, and just be better to do it in here because it's that time of year. If you're not doing it early mid-afternoon, it just gets dark. So, and apparently some snow's coming tonight, so it is what it is. The Camaro, it's a little dirty. Apologize about that. Both cars were a little dusty. Unfortunately, the Camaro was outside last night, and we got a 10-15 minute rainstorm sprinkle, really, but just enough to make the car dirty. So, it is what it is. I will say this winter, the plan is that the Corvette is going to get cleaned up and put away probably for 3-4 months or more. Probably 4 to 5 months, unfortunately. Whereas I do want to try to drive the Camaro as much as possible when we have those good days out here in Colorado, which they're hit or miss, but we do get them. Sometimes the driveway gets a little icy and a little snowy, and that inhibits things. Got a little bit of a steep driveway, but yeah, not all the time. So anyway, let's break down what these cars are. So let's start with the Vette. 2019 Grand Sport, like I said, is the last year of the C7. This one, in fact, I ordered, or I got out of an allotment that was coming in to a big East Coast Vette dealer summer of 19. So this is one of the last month or so production Vettes. In particular, why I wanted this. Admittedly, when I got this, or when I was thinking about getting this, the C8s were already fully announced and the specs and everything was out on the C8s. The C8 is an incredible car, but I don't want to say I like this more, but I like this just as much. And the big thing about this is you can still go to manual. This thing has the 7-speed manual. So check it out. It is bone stock, so nothing too exotic you're not going to see in other videos. But this is the 1LT, I believe, trim level. I got the red seats, really good contrast with the black car. Otherwise, pretty much an all black interior. It does have the all-important 7-speed manual gearbox. I will say, not to get into specifics quite yet, but one thing about this video, one thing about this car, is the gearing is probably my single biggest complaint, and really my only complaint with the car. It's so long. I mean, For a car like this, especially if you're going to stick a 7-speed manual, you should have much more aggressive gearing. You can be in 4th gear doing 60, 65 miles an hour. I've never used 6th gear yet, let alone 7th. Probably never will use 7th gear. 5th gear on the highway at 70 is like low 2000s. So I don't know what they were thinking about the gearing on this thing, but it is way too long. Where the Camaro has a little more consistent, a little more linear gearing. And they're fundamentally the same transmission. I'll get into more details on the Camaro next, but it also has a, I think it's a TR6060, I believe. That's a 6-speed where this is a 7-speed. So under the hood of this Corvette is the LT1, the newest generation small block V8. It's about 460 horsepower. I think it's about the same torque. GM does a pretty good job of trying to hide the ugliness of modern engines. Not so much the engine itself, but everything that comes with it. The plastic covers are, they are what they are, but it looks pretty good. A lot of black under the hood kind of masks some of the wires and extra tanks and piping, etc., things like that. But currently bone stock. So just an overall summary on this. It is a LT1 V8, made it to the 7-speed manual, and has I think it has electronic limited slip differential. Has two-piece steel brake rotors front and rear, 6-piston front, 4-piston rear calipers. Yeah, it's an incredible car. Ton of fun. It clearly is the best. Obviously, this is 7 generations evolution of the front engine rear wheel drive Corvette, but it's incredible as far as a street car. It can do everything you want. I did when I ordered this, or when I was starting to looking at these summer of 19 last year, I was debating about the Z06, especially with the new CE8s introduced. Prices, especially some of the big dealers, were very competitive. Debated back and forth and ended up going with, I got a great deal with the Grand Sport here, so can't complain. In a straight line, yeah, even 450 horsepower, you could have more. I will say in the corners, especially on windy mountain roads, etc., it's a lot of performance. So that's pretty much everything on the Vette. Like I said, stock 2019 Grand Sport. So let's check out the Camaro. So 2017 Camaro SS 1LE. I actually ordered this car in the spring of 17. Got all the options I wanted, which was virtually nothing except for the 1LE package. And admittedly, the 1LE package, especially when it first came out in 17, there weren't many options you could get. You were forced to only go with the 1SS trim level, and there were just some cosmetic items. There was virtually nothing performance. This came with the 1LE package. Basically gave you everything performance-wise you could get on a SS level Camaro. But the general specs of this, and yeah, it is a little dirty. The same LT1 newest generation engine. I think it's rated a tiny bit less in this car. I honestly really don't know what would be different. It's basically got the same exhaust, the same everything. It has the 6-speed manual, and it's got the electronic limited slip diff. Yeah. The brakes are virtually identical to the Grand Sport. 6-piston front, 4-piston rear. Calipers, 2-piece front steel rotors. This one does have a 1-piece rear steel rotor, but otherwise brakes are literally identical between the two. Engines and transmissions basically identical. Obviously the Vette has a 7-speed, but other than that, they're basically the same. The rears are slightly different between the two cars, but they're both independent and they're very close. What else? Let's see. Wheel size. The 1LE comes with 20-inch forged wheels. Really good looking wheel. Really my favorite design, which is a split 5-spoke. It's a dark gray. It's not a black, but it's a dark gray. It looks really good. The red calipers and the red paint looks real good. Couple other items you get. This is a wrapped hood, so you can take it off. It's right underneath. Small rear spoiler, small front splitter. There's a few other miscellaneous things. The interesting, some of the differences. These are both first level option packages, I guess you could call it. So the Camaro, you get performance seats and heads-up display, whereas in the Grand Sport, you get base seats and no heads-up display. The way the gauge clusters are, and I'll show it in a second, I didn't really care too much about the head display on the Vette because all the gauges are center and high where they should be, where the Camaros, like so many cars nowadays, they're split. Just a side note, Porsche has the best gauges ever. Tack, center, high, where it should be. But anyway, let's check out the inside of this thing. So, a lot of gray inside this. Just some light gray silver kind of to accent it. Pretty much your standard 6th gen Camaro interior. The 1LE does give you the Recaro seats, suede steering wheel. Interestingly enough, these cars both have the same steering wheel. The only difference being the Vette is leather and the Camaro suede. And honestly, I don't know, they're about the same. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. You get leather rear seats, kind of to match the front seats, which is kind of interesting because the one level, the 1SS, doesn't come with leather. But if you get the 1LE, it gives you leather. So little random things like that mix in. But I don't want this to be a full detailed car review. But basically, there's a lot of good videos online about the SS, 1LE, and the Grand Sport. There's actually a few that take them both to the track and compare them. And small tracks, they're really close. Bigger track, you're going to see the Vette a little bit faster on the times, probably somewhat to the aerodynamics, definitely the weight. Yeah, so that's the basics. Under the hood, everything is very similar because it's basically the same engine. Same basic plastics cover the engine. This car is also bone stock, at least for the moment. But yeah, once again, pretty good job of, making the underhood look decent, considering all the stuff that is required nowadays. But yeah, that's the basics of the underhood of the 1LE, which is pretty much identical to any SS or any V8 level Camaro. Okay, so comparing and contrasting the cars, that's kind of the point of this video, other than just kind of introducing them to the channel. They are both bone stock right now. Like I've already mentioned before, motor, transmission's identical. Suspension, basically the same. Brakes, basically the same. For two totally different platform cars, they're almost identical. I think I already mentioned as far as performance, driving, everything you feel on the street, the Vette's better. It's, just a little bit, but it's better. What else? I guess pluses and minuses. I love everything about the Vette. I guess the only complaint on the Vette, I think I already mentioned, gearing is way too long. Not sure. I guess they designed this to do 250 miles an hour or something, but whatever. Otherwise, I love everything about the car. As far as the Camaro, pretty much the same. There's people complain about the visibility. I don't know. You get used to it in 5 minutes. It's got a rear backup camera. I don't know. The styling's awesome looking. I sacrifice a few inches on the window for really cool styling. That's fine with me. The only thing I can think of really in the Camaro that's a bit of a complaint is the seats. These Recaro seats you get with the 1LE, they're really aggressive. They're comfortable for being aggressive, but at least for me, they're a little narrow in the shoulders. They're definitely designed for a relatively small person. Waist, legs, lower back, everything's fine. Although the upper, I guess the side bolster of the upper side, they're a little narrow. They're definitely designed for a smaller person. But otherwise, that's the only thing I can really think of. As far as what each car may do better, like I said, in general, it feels like kind of like Vette does everything better. But that's not totally true. I think the Camaro has a slightly better shifter. I think that's simply just the fact that the shifter is literally on top of the transmission, whereas the shifter has more linkages in the Vette because you got to go to the transmission in the back. And I think maybe one other thing the Camaro is slightly better in is the exhaust. These are bone stock at the moment. I have some exhaust clips I'll play right here. I would say the Camaro has a slightly better exhaust, but they're relatively close. They're actually both pretty quiet. I just pretty much always have them in the loud mode. And they're actually both relatively quiet. When you're cruising around and when you get on it, they get loud. So that leads me to believe, and I'm sure a lot of people probably already know the details. I'm not quite sure, though. I think the valving, because they both have NPP dual mode exhaust, I think the valving is set to be open, or maybe it's partially closed and only opens on full throttle or something, even if you put it in a loud mode. I'm not sure. But there is a noticeable difference of just cruising around versus getting on it. More so just than just more RPM. Yeah, I hope you enjoy watching this one. More to come. But that's it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.